السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. رب زدني علما اللهم فقهنا في الدين آمين يا رب العالمين. Inshallah, I hope that all of you are doing well. So today's topic is going to be the topic of Sadaqah, and inshallah we're going to start by looking at what is Sadaqah. So Sadaqah is anything that a Muslim donates or gives for the sake of Allah. So Sadaqah is a very broad term in Islam. Normally we associate it with money. Sadaqah we say is giving charity in the form of money, but rather Sadaqah is anything that you give for the sake of Allah. So it can be money, it can be talent, it can be knowledge. Inshallah, later on in this slide, we're going to see that there are many things that can be considered sadaqah. Many of them I have not even written down because there are just so many things that a person can donate for the sake of Allah or give for the sake of Allah. But anything that you give for the sake of Allah is considered a sadaqah. So for example, giving money, of course, is considered sadaqah. That you give money to someone in need, this is a form of sadaqah. But let's say that you give your time for something, or you have a talent and you give this for the sake of Allah. Or let's say you have some knowledge and you give this knowledge to someone else. You teach this knowledge for the sake of Allah. Or any other form of goodness that you do for Allah's sake is considered sadaqah, that you do for the benefit of other people. So anything that you are benefiting other people from is going to be considered sadaqah. Anything you give for the sake of Allah is considered sadaqah. So it is a donation, not only of money, but of other things as well. Anything that you possess can be considered a sadaqah. So sadaqah is a voluntary act, meaning that it is not fard, it is not obligatory. Sadaqah is anything extra that you do. It is not fard to give sadaqah. It is not obligatory for you to give sadaqah, unlike zakah. So zakah is one of the pillars of Islam, and it is fard to give zakah. So every single Muslim who has the amount of money that is specified, and every single Muslim who has reached the age of puberty has to give zakah. It is one of the five pillars, and this is fard for every single Muslim. For sadaqah, there is no specific amount that is written. So for sadaqah, you can give as much and as little as you want. And again, because it is not specifically referring to money, sadaqah can be in other things as well. There is no specified amount for sadaqah. Unlike zakat, which has a specified amount. So zakat is going to be 2.5% of your stored wealth. And this will include your money, your gold, your if you have livestock, for example, or if you have a farm. So it's a lot of things that are included within the fiqh of zakah, but basically there is a fixed amount, which is 2.5%. So every single person, depending on his wealth, will give 2.5% of that wealth, and that is considered his obligatory zakah. He has to give this money. This is a tax in Islam, you can say. So zakat is fard, and then the sadaqah is going to be voluntary, meaning that it is not fard for you to give. It is things that you are giving extra on top of your zakah. So here we see in this ayah, it's mentioned, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ وَمَا تُنْفِقُوا مِنْ شَيْءٍ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ بِهِ عَلِيمٌ. And you will never achieve righteousness until you donate some of what you cherish. And whatever you give is certainly well known to Allah. So here look at the wording that is used here. It says, حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. Mimma is from the word min and ma. Min meaning from, ma is what? Tuhibbun. So here it says that you will never achieve true righteousness. You may think that you are a very righteous Muslim, that you are praying and you are fasting and you are doing all of the things right. But here in this ayah, it is mentioned that you will never achieve true righteousness until you donate from what you love. When you donate some of what you love, what you cherish, mimma tuhibbun. This is something that is so very difficult for some people because they are so in love with their wealth or so in love with the things that they possess that they do not want to donate it to anyone. And here we see it is mentioned that you will never achieve bir, you will never achieve righteousness until you donate some of what you love. وَمَا تُنْفِقُوا مِنْ شَيْءٍ. And whatever you give of anything, min shay'in, of anything, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ بِهِ عَلِيمٌ, then indeed it is certainly well known by Allah. Certain things we love a lot. We love them so much. And for other people, it might be something that's not that important, or they might see some object and think that, this is so old. It doesn't look good. Why do you still have this? Why do you love it so much? And for us, it holds sentimental value. For some people, they don't care about their money as much. They're very free with their money. They give to so many people and they don't even care. And for other people, it is very, very difficult to get rid of even $1 or $2. They are counting their money. So for certain people, there is more love for different things. And here Allah says, depending on what you love, you have to give from that. And whatever you give, some people might not understand how much you love something. They might not understand how much you appreciate something, how much you want to keep something. But Allah knows. Whatever it is that you give in His sake, Allah knows what you give. And He will reward you for it. And then in another ayah we see وَأَنفِقُوا مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ مِنْ قَبْلِ أَنْ يَأْتِيَ أَحَدَكُمُ الْمَوْتُ فيقول ربي لولا أخرتني إلى أجل قريب فأصدق وأكن من الصالحين, and spend in charity of that with which we have provided you. So spend in charity with what Allah has provided you. So here Allah is reminding you that whatever it is that you have been given, it is not yours. Whatever wealth you have been given, it is not your wealth. We think that because we have money, it's my money. Because I have this thing, I have a car, I have a house, I have whatever else that I have knowledge. I'm smart, I'm wise, I have this talent, I have that talent. Because I have this, it's mine now. And Allah says, مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ. What we have provided you, Allah gave it to you. And if He is commanding you to spend, that is His right, because He has given this to you. So here Allah mentions that what we have given to you, spend from it. مِنْ قَبْلِ أَنْ يَأْتِيَ أَحَدَكُمُ الْمَوْتُ, before death comes to one of you. And then you will say that when after he dies, this person will say, رَبِّ لَوْلَا أَخَرْتَنِي إِلَى أَجَلٍ قَرِيبٍ. My Lord, Ya Allah, if only you would give me respite for a little while, return me to this world so that I could give sadaqah. فَأَصَّدَّقَ وَأَكُن مِّنَ الصَّالِحِينَ, that I could have given sadaqah from my wealth and I could have been amongst the righteous. So we see from this ayah that Allah is telling us, anyone who is reading this ayah, you are getting this reminder at a perfect time. Allah is telling you, أَنفِقُوا مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاكُم مِّن قَبْلِ. Spend from what we have given you before death comes to you and it is too late. Because for someone who dies, they will be regretting that they could go back for one day, 1 hour, and give a little bit more sadaqah and become amongst the righteous. So Allah here is mentioning that this is the regret of the people that pass away. They regret that they had not given more in sadaqah. And you realize when you are in the grave, because you can't take your money with you. When you are living in this life, you are so in fear of your money that I need to make sure I have enough money. I have enough saved up. I don't want to use it for anything. I don't want to give it to anyone. I want to keep it for myself. And some people don't even want to save money for their children. They think that, I don't want to give to my children or my family. I want to keep it for myself. And when these people pass away, their money does not go with them. You don't take it with you into the grave. That money is going to be distributed amongst whoever is left on this earth. So when you are in the grave, you realize that your money will not avail you in any way. It will not help you. It will not benefit you. So then you will realize that I wish I had given more in sadaqah, and at least it would have benefited me where I am now in the grave. And then in Surah Al-Baqarah we see مثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله كمثل حبة أنبتت 7 سنابل. So here we see in Surah Al-Baqarah that the example of those people who give for the sake of Allah, they spend from what Allah has given for the sake of Allah, كَمَثَلِ حَبَّةٍ. Their example is like a little grain or a little seed. أَنبَتَتْ, it grows 7 سنابل. So that one grain grows into 7 ears. So you can imagine if you have like a kernel of corn or you have one of the seeds of corn, and from that seed there are 7 sprouts or ears. And on each ear there is growing a separate corn. So from that one seed, now you have seven separate corns. And on each corn, you have 100 more of these seeds. So you have في كل سنبلة مئة حبة. So now from this one seed, now you have 700 seeds, 700 ears of the corn, you could say. So this is the example that Allah gives. Or you can even think of it as any other plant, but anything that you plant with one seed grows into a big tree. So for example, if you have an apple tree and you have one tiny seed of an apple and you plant it, and on the branches there are 50 apples, for example, and then in each apple there are separate seeds. So you can imagine that from each apple, the seeds are just going to keep multiplying. So this is the example that Allah gives of the reward of someone who gives for the sake of Allah, that that 1 cent that you give can turn into so much money. That $1 you can give turns into $700. And Allah gives even more than that. Wallahu yudha'ifu liman yasha, that Allah can multiply the reward even more to whoever He wills. If Allah feels that this person's intention was so beautiful, or this person was struggling so much, they were so they were in so much hardship. They were having difficulty with rent, or they loved their money so much that it was impossible for them to part with it. And still they donated for the sake of Allah. In some of these cases, Allah may decide that Allah wants to reward you even more, and Allah will reward you even more than this. Wallahu wasi'un alim, and Allah is all bountiful, all knowing. He has all of the rewards in the world. He can give whatever He wants. And Allah mentions that He will give back whatever it is that you spend. Allah will give back tenfold or 100-fold, or like in this ayah, 700-fold, 700 times more. In another ayah, الذين ينفقون أموالهم بالليل والنهار سرا وعلانية فلهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. And those who spend their wealth in charity day and night, secretly and openly, their reward is with their Lord, and there will be no fear for them, nor will they grieve. So here in this ayah, it's mentioned that they give in charity. They give in the day and in the night. They give secretly and they give openly. They give both. So they give in secret. Of course, this is the hadith that we learned, that one of the best people is someone who gives charity with his right hand and his left hand does not even know. So this is one of the hadiths that he gives so secret that even his other hand does not know. But he also gives openly. And we also learn this in Surah Al-Baqarah. Allah mentions that the person who gives in secret is good, and the one who gives openly is good as well. Because in certain cases, it is more beneficial to give openly. For example, when you are at a fundraiser and you see that the fundraising person is asking for money and no one is raising their hands, the first person who raises his hand and says that I will pledge this much money, everyone will have courage from this person and they will get inspired by this person and think that, okay, someone did it, I can do it too. So doing it openly in cases like this is better because it encourages other people. And when someone looks at you and follows your good deed, so if I gave $50 and someone saw me do this and they also give $50, then I get the reward of $100 for the 50 that I gave and the 50 that that other person gave because they saw me give. So we learn from the hadith that whoever follows someone else's good action, the person who started it will get that other person's reward without the other person's reward diminishing at all. So the other person will still get his reward for his, but I will get double the reward. And everyone who follows after me will get that same reward as well. So if every single person who followed me, I will get their reward. So this is why in certain cases it is good to give openly and then also give secretly. So give both. And for the person who does this, Allah mentions that his reward is with Allah. And we know Allah wasi'un alim, that Allah is ever encompassing. He's so vast. The person who will want to get reward from the most is Allah. Why would we want reward from anyone else whose money is limitful? They have limits on their money. They don't have enough to give to everybody. And Allah has enough to give to everyone as much as He wants. So we know our reward is with Him. وَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ, and they don't fear. وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ, and they don't grieve. They don't fear for the future. They don't fear that what will happen, where will I get money, how will I provide for myself. If I give this much money, will I have enough for groceries, or will I have enough for this, or can I buy this next month? They don't fear about this because they know Allah will return their money to them. وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ, and they don't grieve. They don't grieve over what they have given. They give the money and they don't think about it. Sometimes we give money and we think that, that was a lot of money. I gave like, $500. Maybe I shouldn't have given it. I should have just kept it. I could have used it. And we grieve over the money that we give. When we know that we're not actually giving that money away, when we give for the sake of Allah, we are storing it in our bank for the akhirah. But the money is still ours. We can give it to whoever we like, and people may use that money, but that money is still ours. It is still with us in the akhirah. Allah will give it back to us. So we need to have this yaqeen, we need to have this belief in order not to grieve over the money that we have given. And the person who gives solely for the sake of Allah, they don't grieve about this kind of stuff because they know Allah will reward them. They know فَلَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ. Their reward is with Allah. They know this. And it's عند ربهم. It's with Allah. They know this. So they don't grieve and they don't fear because they know Allah will recompense them. And then in another ayah we see أولئك يؤتون أجرهم مرتين بما صبروا ويدرؤون بالحسنة السيئة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. That these will be given their reward twice over because they are patient and repel evil with good and spend in charity out of what we have provided them. So for these people there is double the reward. They get reward in this world and they get reward in the next. And they have double the reward for the good that they did, for basically advising people to do good and repelling evil. And then they also used to spend in charity from what Allah had given them. We learn from the hadith that there are a couple of benefits mentioned for giving charity. We learn that giving charity without delay stands in the way of calamity. So when we give charity and we do it right away without delay, we don't think about it, we don't delay it, we just give right away. When we have the opportunity, we give. This stands in the way of calamity, meaning that maybe it might have been that something bad was about to happen, and because of your charity, that bad thing was averted from you. So this is why we say that if you are going through a difficult time, give charity and Allah will alleviate this calamity from you. So if you are going through any hardship, give charity and Allah will create ease for you. We learn in another hadith that the believer's shade on the day of resurrection will be his charity. And we learned that it will be so hot on that day, that the sun will be so close and people will be sweating. They will be so hot. They will be so thirsty and hungry, and the shade on that day is going to be from your charity. So, of course, if you gave a lot of charity, your shade will be huge. And if you gave a couple of pennies for charity, you can imagine how small the shade will be. So, the more charity you give, the bigger your shade on the day of judgment. Protect yourself from hellfire, even by giving a piece of date as charity. This is from another hadith. So, even if that is all you have a piece of a date, not even a whole day, a piece of a date. Give this in charity. If that's all that you have, still give it. And this will protect you from the hellfire. So we learn from this that charity will protect you from the hellfire. In another hadith, we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Spend, O son of Adam, and I shall spend on you." So if we want Allah to spend on us, then we must spend for the sake of Allah. We must spend in His way, and then Allah will spend on us. And then we learn in another hadith that charity does not in any way decrease the wealth, which is what we think. We think that right when we give charity, the bank account is going down, the wallet is getting smaller. We see those numbers going down and we think about it so much. When we learn from the hadith that charity does not decrease the wealth in any way, no matter how much you give, it does not decrease the wealth because Allah will give you more. Allah will replace it and He will give you double the reward in the akhirah as well. So any reward, any charity that you give does not decrease from your wealth. In another hadith, we see that no Muslim spends a pair of any kind of wealth in the way of Allah, but that the keepers of paradise, all of them, will invite him to what they have. And basically, this hadith is encouraging us to spend in pairs. So if you are giving one thing, then instead of giving one, give two. If you are giving $1, give $2. If you are giving $100, give 200. If you are able to do so, it is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ to give in pairs. So give two of whatever it is you are giving, and you will be amongst those people who are following this sunnah. In another hadith, we see that none among the servants are bestowed a blessing from Allah, and He makes it abundant upon him, meaning that Allah gives him a blessing and He gives him a lot of it, but that He will appoint to him something of the needs of the people. Anyone who has any kind of wealth at all, anyone who has any kind of abundance at all, your wealth has a portion of it that was meant for the people. If you have any kind of money at all, from this money, Allah has written that this money is for this person. This amount of money is for the needs of the people, for the needy. I gave you this money so that you can give it to the people who are in need. A lot of times, these people are making dua for money, they're making dua for help. And Allah sends us as vessels to give to these people. Allah gives us wealth so that through us, Allah can give these people wealth. So when Allah has given you money and He has given you abundance in it, that means that there is a portion of that that was meant for the needs of the people. And here the hadith mentions a blessing from Allah. So it doesn't have to be money necessarily, it can be anything. Let's say you have a lot of talent for something. This talent is meant for the people, it is meant for the aid of people, it is meant for you to use to help the people. If you are, for example, a doctor, you have become a doctor because Allah has given you this intelligence, and this intelligence is for the benefits of the people, for the needs of the people. And Allah says, if He is irritated with them, He risks the disappearance of that blessing. So, if you do not give for the sake of Allah, and Allah becomes irritated with you because you are not giving, then you are risking the disappearance of that blessing. Because Allah says He is not giving for the sake that I gave Him. I gave Him so that He could give to other people, and this person doesn't even give. So why should I keep giving this person? Why should I keep giving him this blessing? And instead, Allah will give that blessing to someone else who would rather go and give this to the people in need. So if you are not giving for the sake of Allah, then you risk that your blessings will disappear and Allah will give it to someone who is more deserving. We see in another hadith, fear Allah and do not belittle any good deed, not even emptying your bucket in a cup for someone to drink or speaking to your brother with a cheerful face. So we see here that these are very small acts that we can do, and they are still considered an act of charity, an act of sadaqah. So when it comes to sadaqah, there is a very specific type of sadaqah known as sadaqah jariyah. Jariyah means something that is perpetual or continuing. The reason why it is known as sadaqah jariyah is because it is literally a perpetual charity, meaning that you give once and the reward of this will constantly come to you. So when we think of charity, we think, for example, giving food. So if I feed one person one meal, like $10 I give for a meal for one person, he will eat that meal, and of course you get ajr for sadaqah. But once that meal is gone, you get the reward for your sadaqah, and that's it. It's a one-time type of reward. But when we see sadaqah jariyah, this is something that you give once, and because it is constantly benefiting the people, you will constantly be getting the ajr for it. As long as that thing remains, even after you pass away, you will continue getting this ajr. You will have perpetual charity, perpetual hasanat, perpetual goodness. We learn from a hadith that when a person dies, his deeds come to an end except for three. Sadaqah jariyah, a continuous charity, knowledge which is beneficial, or a virtuous descendant who prays for him for the deceased. So these three things will be the only things that will help you after you pass away. You are not getting any good deeds from anyone else or your own self because you are in the grave, except for these three things. So one is sadaqah jariyah. So a sadaqah jariyah that you do, you will continue getting the good deeds for this. In the next hadith, we'll look at what exactly is sadaqah jariyah, but this is one way that you can continue getting good deeds. So we should invest in certain types of sadaqah jariyah so that we can benefit even after we are long gone. Knowledge which is beneficial, so any knowledge that you have taught someone, let's say you taught someone how to read Surah Fatiha, every time they recite Surah Fatiha in their prayer, you will get ajr for this. Or any knowledge that you taught to someone which was beneficial, you will get continuous ajr for that anytime that person utilizes that knowledge. Or a virtuous descendant, so for example, your kids, your nieces, nephews, any of your family members, when they make dua for you or they pray for you, then this will also be a form of good deeds for you after your death. So in this hadith, we're going to look at what is some types of sadaqah jariyah. So there are 7 deeds of a servant that continue to be rewarded after his death while he is in his grave. So number 1, knowledge to be learned. So again, something that you teach to someone else. If I taught someone, like I said, Surah Fatiha, then every time that person recites Surah Fatiha, you get ajr. Or you taught someone how to pray, or you taught someone the importance of a certain act. or if you taught anyone anything, you taught someone the meaning of the first ayah of Surah Fatiha, even whatever it is that you know, whatever knowledge you know, whatever you taught to someone and they benefited from, this is Sadaqah Jariyah for you. Constructing a canal, so basically building this canal, you can use it for irrigation or for water, whatever it is that you are using it for, but this is something that is beneficial to the people. The people can use this and they will benefit from it for many, many years. So building and constructing a canal is also a form of sadaqah jariyah because people will benefit from it long after you are gone. Digging a well, this is something that people can use for water. Again, after you pass away, anytime someone drinks water from this well, you get ajr from it. Or even when you're not, when you didn't pass away, and you are still alive, then anytime someone drinks from this, you will also get ajr for this. Planting a date palm tree or any tree, because people can use that shade, and using that shade of the tree you planted will give you ajr. For someone sitting in that shade, or even an animal sitting in the shade of a tree that you planted, you will get ajr for this. And planting a date palm specifically because we know dates are from the sunnah. So anyone who is eating a date will get ajr because you are allowing people to follow the sunnah, and also because you fed someone with the fruits of your the tree that you planted. Building a mosque, of course, every single person who prays in here, who reads Quran, who sits waiting for the prayer, all of their ajr you will get. If you contributed anything to the building of this masjid, if you gave a little bit of money for anything, if you donated a chair even for the masjid, you donated a Quran, whoever is using that thing in the masjid or whoever is using the masjid itself, then he will get the ajr, and the person who donated this money or whatever it was they donated will also get the ajr for this. Handing down a written copy of the Quran, so writing something by hand, or just handing down a Quran in general. So if you buy a Quran and you give it to someone, anytime someone uses that Quran, especially if it is handwritten, you get extra ajr. But this was back then, at the time they did not have the printing press. Nowadays, even just buying a Quran and giving it to someone will also give you the ajr every time they recite. Leaving a righteous child who seeks forgiveness for him after his death. So if you have a child that is making dua for you, making dua for your forgiveness, this is also a sadaqah jariyah because it is benefiting you after your death. So these are the types of perpetual charities. Of course, we must feed the poor. We must help those people in need, but certain types of charity we should be doing even more, which is sadaqah jariyah. So especially like digging the wells, building the masajid, these causes are always in need of money. And especially we see during Ramadan, we have all of these fundraisers. So try to give, especially during Ramadan. This is a sadaqah jariyah. And if you give during Ramadan, you get extra ajr. And inshallah, every year from now, Allah will give you that same amount of ajr. So try to give in these days and give for these causes that will help you even after your death. So let's look at some forms of sadaqah. This is not all of it. There are a lot of hadith about different types of sadaqah. And then you can basically imagine whatever you like. So for some people, they have certain talents that they are good at. I didn't put everything here, but for example, like you're really good at certain things. So you can go and help people with this, or you're very strong, so you can help people in this way, or you are very knowledgeable in politics, so you can help people in this way. Let's say you're a lawyer and you can help people with Muslim finances or with the inheritance law. Whatever it is that you have, giving this for the sake of Allah is a form of sadaqah. So this is something you will have to do some self-reflection on. See, what talents do I have? What do I have that I can give for the sake of Allah? And of course, you will give money, you will give time, you will give knowledge, but try to find something that is unique to you that you yourself can give. Some people are very, very nice cooks. Some people can bake a lot. Some people are great at gardening. So if you are one of these people, then try to use what you can make and give to the people. Some people are great at calligraphy. Some people are very intelligent. Whatever it is that you are good at, try to think of it and then give this in the form of sadaqah as well. Now let's look at some of these other forms. So number one, we have water. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said that the best charity is providing water. So like I mentioned, the water wells as well. This is sadaqah jariyah. You plant it once or you build it once, and anytime someone drinks from it, you are getting the best kind of charity, and you will always get it as long as that well is there. So giving someone water, and not even a well, just giving someone a glass of water. Guests come to your house and you give them water, or one of your siblings, or your spouse, or your parents, and just giving someone water. this is going to be the best form of charity. Now, during Ramadan, we see that after people are fasting, they're really thirsty. So even buying a case of water and leaving it in the masjid, subhanAllah, imagine every single person who opens their fast with this water, and you will get the ajr for that. So this is a form of goodness that you can do. It's very easy. Water bottles are super cheap. You can get so many for a couple of dollars. So you buy a case, buy two cases, just leave it in the masjid, and whoever wants can go and grab, and then you will have been doing the best form of charity. Building a mosque, like we covered, building a water well, feeding someone, of course, giving someone food, and not necessarily they have to be poor for this. Even feeding your family, feeding yourself, as we learned when we were covering one of the other lectures, we learned that feeding yourself is a sadaqah. So feeding yourself, feeding other people, all of this is forms of sadaqah. Smiling at someone is sadaqah. Subhanallah, this is our religion that giving someone a smile is considered ajr for you. Helping someone with anything, offering your services that I can help someone with this, I'm good at this, I can help you with this. And you see someone is struggling to bring things up the elevator, or they're not able to open a door because they have too many things. Whatever it is, just offering your services. You see that your parents are struggling with something, your mom is doing something in the kitchen, and you see she needs help, and you go and you help her. So all of these things are considered offering your services, and all of this is sadaqah. Teaching someone, anything that you teach someone is considered sadaqah. Volunteering in the masjid and all of these organizations and helping the organization of sadaqah, this is also a form of sadaqah. Giving good advice to people. And then reviving a barren land, we learned this from the hadith that someone who revives a barren land, and anyone who eats from this will get ajr for this. So if there is a land or a plant that is dying and you give this plant water, then that is sadaqah for you. We learn from a hadith, refrain from harming people, for it is your charity due upon yourself. So not hurting someone is considered a sadaqah. Subhanallah, like not hurting someone is sadaqah. This is the mercy of Allah, giving someone kind words. We learn from Surah Al-Baqarah, it's mentioned that if you are not able to give someone sadaqah, if someone asks you for money and you are not able to give them money, then at least give them a kind word. At least make a dua for them. And this is also a sadaqah. Giving your spouse a drink is sadaqah. We learned this from the hadith. This is such a good form of kindness. And of course, if you are living with your spouse, you will be giving each other drinks. As a wife to a husband or a husband to a wife, you will be giving each other drinks or buying each other food. So this is also a form of sadaqah. And we learned that another form of sadaqah is cleaning spit from the masjid or anything in the masjid. Sometimes we see the bathrooms in the masjid are so dirty and they are so neglected. We see the carpets are so messy. So for someone to clean the masjid is a sadaqah. We see that duha prayer, as we covered when we were covering the sunnah prayers, we covered that duha prayer is also a form of sadaqah that covers all of the charity that is due upon your joints. So duha prayer is a sadaqah. Enjoining good and forbidding evil is a sadaqah. Guiding a lost person, someone asks you for directions and you direct them and you guide them, is a sadaqah. Removing someone's debt is a sadaqah. Reconciling people that two people are fighting and quarreling and you bring them back together is sadaqah. Being polite to someone is sadaqah. Carrying a heavy load for others. Helping the disabled if someone is not able to see and you guide him or you tell him, watch your step. This is a sadaqah. SubhanAllah, this is not even everything. This is just some of the things I could fit on this page. There are so many forms of sadaqah, and we should take some time to think about these forms of sadaqah, the different forms of sadaqah, and how I can do this. Now, all of us have individual talents. Allah has blessed us with certain things. So, whatever you have and you can give for the sake of Allah, then give. And if you cannot give anything, then at least smile. Everyone can smile. And if you can't even smile, then there are so many things that you can do. So, look in this list, see what you can do, and then look at your own talents as well. What are you good at? And see how you can give in the sake of Allah. So here is another hadith with just a few of the other things that are mentioned as a sadaqah. A charity is due for every joint in each person on every day the sun comes up. To act justly between two people is a charity. To help a man with his mount, lifting him onto it or hoisting up his belongings onto it is a charity. So back then when people were on the camels, helping someone on the camel, or holding the door open for someone nowadays, you can say. Or if someone's trying to, open up the elevator door and they have too much stuff and you say, let me carry this bag. Let me bring this up for you. This is charity. A good word is a charity, saying something good to someone, complimenting someone. Saying Subhanallah or Alhamdulillah or MashaAllah is a charity. Removing a harmful thing from the road is a charity. So you are walking and you see a stick or you see that there's something that someone could trip over, and you pushing that aside is a form of charity. So Subhanallah, we see how merciful Allah is that He gives so much ajr for so many little things. Subhanallah, there are things that we are normally doing in our day-to-day life, and that is a form of sadaqah for us. So please, during this month, during these last 10 nights, see which way can you give sadaqah. Of course, give sadaqah with your money. We should give sadaqah with our money. But give sadaqah with other things as well. And for some people, they are not able to give with money, or they are not able to give a lot, and they feel bad that, I'm really struggling with my money right now. I don't have enough to give. What can I give in sadaqah? Look at this list. SubhanAllah, there is so much. So whatever it is you are able to do, go and do this form of sadaqah, especially in these last 10 nights, especially focusing on the sadaqah jariyah, the things that will benefit you in the future, helping those people that are in need, building a well, building a masjid, whatever it is that you can do, invest in this, invest in your hereafter, and have the confidence, have the faith that Allah will give it back to you. As we learned from the hadith, charity does not decrease the wealth. It does not take away from your wealth. It does not lessen your wealth. So when you give, don't have this fear. Don't have worry about where the next paycheck will come from, because Allah will give to you. That is the promise that Allah has made. And He says 700 times and even more than that if He wills. So have faith, give for the sake of Allah, and give with pure heart. Don't give expecting things from other people. Don't give expecting that someone will thank you or that someone will give you something back. Don't expect anything from everyone. Give only for the sake of Allah, and Allah will take care of you. May Allah make us amongst these people who are charitable and who are generous and open with our money. And may He not take away our wealth and give it to someone more deserving. May He make us one of these people who help others, who are going in the path of Allah and bringing benefit to everyone in whatever way we can. And may Allah accept all of our charity and reward us for everything that we have done in this month, inshallah. So we'll stop here for today. Jazakallahu khairan kathiran. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.